The legend, Stephon Marbury, is with us, New York City point guard, Showtime streaming now. This is really cool. I got to check it out. What have you been up to, man? Let's start there. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? How are you?
I'm great. Things are good. And, the legend of the New York City point guard. Those of us from outside the city, we can love basketball. We can think we know what it's about. But what was it like to be one of those guys coming up with so many other names?
Man, I mean, as I said to another guy, man, I'm just blessed to be mentioned with some of the guys. You got Kuz, Lenny, Wilkins. You got Mark, Broad, Tiny. You got the legends. Who we looked up to as kids growing up watching basketball, and then now to be mentioned with these guys, is great. And for this doc to come out about point guards, I think the timing is really, really good for people to be able to hear about that.
It really is something. Like, if you love basketball, you can see someone play and go, okay, that's a New York City point guard. Like, that's how it used to be. And you just, like, what was it about learning the style that wasn't just straight basketball? Like, what was it that you would add to your game, the things you would emphasize that made it such a distinct group from that part of the country?
I mean, you just look at guys like Shamgar Wells. He has this unique crossover that so many people tried to emulate, myself included. I used to like beg him, like, Sham, yo, we used to be at 5-star basketball camp, and I used to be like, because it's like dusty in Holmesdale, and sometimes if you know 5-star basketball camp, for those that do know about 5-star Holmesdale basketball camp, they know like the floor is like real sandy and dusty, and Sham used to like make this. He used to do this crossover, but he used to make his shoes like sound like they slicing through the sand. You know what I'm saying? And it used to sound crazy when he did it. I was like, come on, Sham, do it. Do the cross. He'd be like, yo, Steph, whop, and then he'd hit it. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, man, that move is so nasty. So you got guys like him that are putting forth a move that they call a sham guard that's like globally known. To be part of that, like, and Sham and I, we played a lot against each other and play with each other. So to be able to know guys like that who have done things like that is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and again, like, this is a little different because Iverson was a Virginia guy, but I remember when he did that Reebok commercial where he did that dribble, then he hit it off of his back elbow and like brought it in front of him. Like, when we were kids, you'd be like, all right. You know what I mean? It was almost impossible to do any of that stuff. But I'd imagine that the New York City point guard, like, there's a part of it where I'm not even shooting today. Like, I'm working on some of this other stuff because that's how I'm trying to separate myself as a ball handler.
I used to dribble on rocks. That's how I used to dribble on rocks and be handling the ball on rocks, and people would be like, yo, this kid is really dribbling on the rocks. Like from my handle wasn't like everyone else's handle. I can't dribble the basketball like Sham Guard and like Kyrie and Steph Curry, because my moves they weren't part of that. So when I think about New York City guards, a lot of people be like, oh, do something fancy, and I'm like, hey, let me try to do something. Then I'll do something that's weak, and the kid like, yo, you're not from New York City. I'm like, I'm from New York. So, but to be able to be a part of something like this is pretty magical for New York City point guards, because it's like KD is allowing people to recognize that.
You were also probably quicker than everybody, so you didn't need to separate as much with the handle to give yourself a little bit of credit on this. Who was the guy, though? Like, if you were playing, at a park and like somebody else showed up, like, who were you in awe
of? Like, from Coney Island, from where I'm from.
It doesn't have to be just Coney Island. It could be somewhere else.
I mean, the person who I looked at when I watched basketball is Michael Jordan. I feel like, Michael Jordan had every move that you could think of as a basketball player. For me, I think he got it. I think it's inside of him because of the type of player. And Jordan has so much flash in his handle that people don't even realize, because he literally really wasn't dribbling the basketball. He literally was like palming the basketball as he was dribbling the basketball. So you can make the basketball go wherever you want it to go. So, but as far as like freaky guards, I mean, you could go in a list for days.
Like, did anybody give you trouble? You were like, what is it with this guy? Like,
I can't say. I can say Jordan.
Well, that's Kobe, a good answer, but
Kobe, Strickland, Terrell Brandon, Iverson. Those guys, for me, because those guys was hard to guard, I could watch those guys play basketball. LeBron, I could watch these guys play. Like for me, like that's how I see it. When I play against those guys, like those are my category guys.
I want to stay on Rod Strickland because I know he's a part of this too. Rod doesn't have, the resume of some of the other greats, but there always seems to be this like reverence when other guards talk about Rod. Like, man, who was just filthy was Rod Strickland. What was it about his game? Because every one of you dudes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he was the hardest guard for me. He was the hardest guard to guard for me. Like, it's like you almost there, but you're not there. And you're not there, and then he score. Or he make a dime. Or you think that you're going to tap the ball, and then he's throw it behind his back. And then it's like, he gone. And then he was big. He was like 6'4", and he was strong. And then his game wasn't like hit. His game was, all over the court, but straight line all over the court. It wasn't like East and West. Like a lot of these guys, from what I watch, they like to play East and West. They don't normally play North and South, which is, the hoops are North and South.
Sure.
So he played with that downhill, herky-jerky, when you watch Kyrie, that's like that, like playing against that. But, they got different styles, but same thing. And then he finished. So it wasn't like he was just, taking finish, meaning he went all the way to the basket. You know what I'm saying? Not no pull-up jump shot or no floater. Like he's finishing at the rim or around the rim or reverse layup or something. So that made it really difficult to contest the shot because you don't know what kind of shot he's going to take. You know what I'm saying? Like you think he's about to shoot a floater, he's going up, but he's shooting an underhand layup. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, his release point, like he was bigger than Kyrie. I still think like Kyrie's the best small finisher I've ever seen. Like it's amazing where he releases the ball, you just don't know, and yet he's so much smaller than Rod. But yet the relationship, you could probably see where some of that comes in.
Yeah, the relationship for sure. I mean, and it's not even so much as just being on the court; it's just you being associated with that. You know what I'm saying? Because when you watch that as a hooper, when you watch somebody that you love and somebody that, like my brothers, like my oldest brother, he passed away just recently. His vision of dunking as a little guard made me like how, I was when I went to dunk. And people talk about my brother to me now because my brother, we just laid him to rest Monday. And when people speak about him, they speak about Sky Dog, like how high he jumped and how he flew. So that is the same thing, jumping high, windmill, dunking. And then Rod Strickland was the same thing for, Kyrie plus his dad. So, you got a whirlwind of basketball inside you and you get this opportunity to be able to gravitate towards it and be able to do it because it's already inside you, because it's a gift. It's inside your gene.